Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the world's spookiest and most loved holidays. We're digging into the strange and honestly surprising history of Halloween. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's kick things off with a little bit of a puzzle for you. What could turnips, bats, and billions of dollars possibly have in common? Well, the answer is Halloween, obviously, but how they all connect, well, that's where the story gets really interesting.
To figure this all out, we have to go way, way back in time. And I mean way back, more than 2,000 years, actually, to find out where this whole thing started.
You know, the name Halloween didn't just pop out of nowhere. You can literally trace its family tree through history. It all started over 2,000 years ago with a Celtic festival called Samhain. Then, fast forward a bunch, and the church creates All Saints' Day on November 1st, also known as All Hallows Day. So the night before that was called All Hallows Eve. You just kind of squish those words together, and boom, you get Halloween.
So, what was Samhain all about? Anyway, well, for the ancient Celts, this was a huge deal. This wasn't about candy corn and costumes. It was a major turning point of the year. It meant the harvest was over and the long, dark winter was beginning. And they believed it was a time when the veil between our world and the spirit world got super thin.
Okay, so that's the ancient history. But how in the world did we get from that to all the spooky symbols we know and love today? You know, pumpkins, bats, black cats. Each one has its own pretty cool origin story.
All right, here's a fun fact that might just blow your mind. The original jack-o'-lanterns, they weren't pumpkins, not even close. Back in Ireland, people would carve these creepy faces into turnips and potatoes to scare away evil spirits. It was only when Irish immigrants came to America that they found this native gourd that was so much easier to carve. And yep, that was the pumpkin. And what about our other classic spooky companions? Well, their origins are actually pretty logical when you think about it. Those massive bonfires people lit for Samhain, they attracted tons of insects. And what loves to eat insects? Bats. As for black cats, well, their spooky reputation came way later, during the Middle Ages, when they got this really unfair reputation for being connected to witches and bad luck. So let's fast forward. How did we get from ancient bonfires and carved-up turnips to the massive Halloween celebrations we have today? Let's take a look at the modern holiday, which it turns out is some serious business. You might not believe this, but Halloween is an absolute economic powerhouse. In the United States, it is the second biggest commercial holiday. The only thing people spend more on is Christmas. We are talking billions and billions of dollars every year. It's wild.
And of course, what about the main event for every kid out there? Trick or treating. It actually has some really old roots in these traditions where people would dress up and go door to door, maybe performing a little song or a trick for some food. But the version we all know, with kids yelling trick or treat for candy, that really became a thing in America in the 1930s.
Speaking of candy, we have to talk about the great debate. What is the absolute best Halloween candy to get? Well, according to the sales data, there's a very clear champion. Reese's peanut butter cups are #1, year after year. They're followed by M&Ms and Snickers. I'm sure some of you have strong opinions on that.
Okay, for our last section, let's zoom out a little bit. We're going to look beyond the typical traditions and even look up at the night sky for a couple of really cool connections to Halloween.
Right around the same time as Halloween, there's this incredible celebration in Mexico and other parts of Latin America called Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead. Now, while it shares some of that spooky skeleton imagery, the whole point is completely different. It's this beautiful, joyful, and vibrant holiday that's all about honoring the lives of friends and family who've passed away. And for our last fact, let's talk about something you see in basically every single scary movie, that big, bright, full moon on Halloween night. It almost feels like a requirement for a spooky evening, doesn't it? Well, here's the thing. In reality, it's actually incredibly rare. The last time we had a full moon on Halloween was back in 2020, and it was a pretty big deal for anyone who loves looking at the stars. So, since it's so uncommon, any idea when the next one will light up the night sky on October 31st? Yeah, you're going to have to wait a while. The next one isn't until 2039. So there you have it, from ancient Celtic rituals to a massive commercial industry and a future date to mark on your cosmic calendar. What part of Halloween's history surprised you the most? Thanks so much for watching.